Okay. Okay, so we begin again with Sri Prabhupada Jivanamritam Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Okay, Prabhupada Jivanamritam, third chapter, acceptance of the favorable. Bhakta Vachanamritam, the words of nectar from the devotees. And Anukulyasya Sankalpa, acceptance of the favorable. So Srila Guru Maharaj's introductory line, super mundane attachment also develops. So we're speaking about dedication to the service of the Lord. We just heard Sri Kulashekar about giving his life to Sri Govinda, the personification of divine ecstasy. And now Guru Maharaj is quoting from Prabodhananda Saraswati about this super mundane attachment. Jai Gurudev. Okay. Then this is a quote from Prabodhananda Saraswati about this super mundane attachment. Super mundane means beyond the mundane, transcendental. The scriptures may say whatever they have to say in their various areas of jurisdiction, and the expert logicians may interpret them as they wish. But as far as I am concerned, the sweet nectar of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Chandra is my life and soul. Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati, an associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as far as we know. Okay, so the Sanskrit. Yat tad vadantu shastrani yat tad vyakyantu tarkikaha jivanam mama chaitanya padamboja sudhaivatu. Sudhaivatu. So jivanam mama chaitanya. So that chaitanya is my life, my jivanam. And the padamboja, the lotus feet of, sudhaiva, the nectar of the lotus feet, padamboja of Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is mama, my jivanam, is my life. Translated by Srila Guru Maharaj as my life and soul. Shastrani, whatever the Shastra may say, yat tad vyakyantu tarkikaha. Whatever their interpretations are, vyakyantu, tarki, different varieties of interpretations. So whatever they say, I don't care. I'll take the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many different schools. There's like six schools of philosophy in the Vedic system, Nyaya and others, and they give different interpretations of the scriptures, concluding that karma is the absolute, or Nyaya, denial of everything, is the absolute, is the final stage. And here Prabodhananda Saraswati is saying, I don't care whatever they say, they're not right. The final judgment is the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all kinds of interpretations are there, just as now we're exposed to so many different kinds of interpretations based on, even on the interpretation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and thinking that the indication of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is because he's speaking about prema and the highest stages of bhava, affection, and practical expression of love of Godhead. They think that means that we're supposed to go to those things, even in the stage of conditioning. And through hearing about those things, we get supposedly purified. That's their thinking. But we have clear indication from, they call it rasik bhava, which is, the taster, rasika. He tastes the rasa, the nectar of the bhava. And this was the position of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur took that position, they're thinking that we also can take that position. But we understand that the real understanding of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comes from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and not from people who are juniors of the juniors of the juniors of Saraswati Thakur, thinking that they're giving some increased revelation beyond Saraswati Thakur. And Srila Govinda Maharaj has pointed out that the danger of this, that if we don't clearly follow the instructions of Saraswati Thakur, and the example, which was that even he would not look at those high books. So what to speak of us? And his disciples, his beloved disciples, from Srila Prabhupada to Srila Guru Maharaj to Srila Keshava Maharaj and so many others, would not look at those high books. In spite of the fact that, one disciple may claim that Saraswati Thakur gave him the authority to read those books. We never heard that from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, never heard it from Srila Govinda Maharaj, never heard it from Srila Prabhupada, so we don't accept that. Sri Chaitanya Dev is my life and soul. Whatever the interpretation is, other than that, we don't accept that. Even in terms of the fine interpretations of the relative progress that we make on the path of devotional life, we don't accept the interpretations that come outside of the line of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, coming through Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, and within that context, revealing deeply the revelations of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. If you get to know Srila Sridhar Maharaj by reading his instructions, you'll get to know Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. This is the genuine understanding. And I know that I read Srila Prabhupada's books, based on my service to Srila Prabhupada, and then going back and reading his books based on the connection given by Srila Prabhupada to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. There's so much there that I didn't see before. So by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we get Srila Sridhar Maharaj. By the grace of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, we get Srila Prabhupada. Something like that. Just as the grace of Guru, we get, by the grace of Krishna, we get Guru, and by the grace of Guru, we get Krishna. So it works like that also in the exchange between, the sun and the moon, something like that. Okay, next, 17. Srila Guru Maharaj's introductory shloka. An earnest aspiration to achieve perfection in devotional service. This is by Jamunacharya, who is, you remember? Jamunacharya, remember who he is? The guru of Ramanujacharya, who's the acharya of the Sri Sampradaya. Sri in that they worship Sri as the associate of Narayan. Sri and Bhu, both who are expansions of Srimati Radharani, as we understand it. Bhu is the personification of the earth, who is eternally servitor of Narayan. So they worship that, but they have great devotion. And so Srila Guru Maharaj has quoted in many places the line coming from the the revelations of the South Indian Vaishnavas, not only in the Ramanuja line directly, like from Yamunacharya, Ramanuja's guru, and Vedanta Deshika, the disciple of Ramanujacharya, but also from the Alwars, who preceded Ramanujacharya in South India and preached extensively in the local dialect, which was never done before. The Sanskritists in the temples thought they were offensive, but in our view, they were like precursors to the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they gave a devotional life in the proper context. That is, in relation to, directly in relation to Krishna, these Alwars did. And then Ramanuja established Narayan worship in the south, the beginning of the development of pure bhakti, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the pinnacle of. From Ramanuja appeared Madhvacharya, who gave worship of Krishna alone. There's a story of his finding a deity in, I think it was in a big block of salt that was proceeding in the ocean nearby his temple, and he understood that Krishna was inside the salt, so he took the deity out, and that deity is still there in the main temple of Madhvacharya, but no Srimati Radharani. So Mahaprabhu revealed the nature of the ultimate love exchange. Krishna alone, there's different relationships that are manifest, but without Srimati Radharani, it's still incomplete. So the revelation of development of devotional service proceeded from Shankaracharya, who, in his final days said, Bhaja Govindam mudamate. You fools, just worship Govinda. After, giving his whole Mayavadi or more Brahmavadi explanation of the Vedanta Sutra, he, concluded his life saying, worship Govinda. That's the real thing. You fools are looking for personal calculation in merging with Brahman, but the real thing is to worship Govinda. So anyway, Shankaracharya indicated that. Ramanujacharya brought it out in the direct worship of Narayan as a servitor. Then Madhvacharya brought out the worship of Krishna directly, something like Sakyarasa, and then Mahaprabhu brought out the worship of Sri Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Madhurya Rasa. So the whole thing was like a gradual development. Okay. So Yamunacharya's verse, when will I bloom in a life of servitude as your eternal devotee? My heart pacified due to all other desires. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Okay. My heart pacified due to all other desires being consumed by engagement in your uninterrupted service. So this is, Yamunacharya is, showing us the devotional way that we engage in service by the potency of that service to our gurus. The guru transforms the motivated, calculated stuff that's there in our, whatever we do because we're conditioned. And he receives it, and by his kind mercy gives it onwards to Krishna in a purified form. And as a result of that, by the mercy of the Guru, Krishna becomes pleased. And as a result of that pleasure, transcendental experience in reciprocation comes back from Krishna. Hari Bol! Anyway, it comes back from Krishna by his grace through the Guru. So the whole thing is the reawakening of our loving transaction in relation to the Lord. So here Jamunacharya is saying, you know, my heart will be pacified by engagement in your service. Let me be fully engaged in your service, and that way all the, you know, all the temporary distractions will be eliminated. So Jamunacharya, as, you know, a great Vaishnava, high Vaishnava, probably Paramahansa Vaishnava, Acharya of, you know, Guru of Ramanuja Acharya, is praying like that. So what to speak of us. Okay. I think we'll end here because we have to do Chaitanya Charitamrita. So tomorrow, another verse from Jamunacharya, number 18. Now he's saying, let me become an associate of those servitors of the Lord who consider liberation, sense gratification to be like straw, and whose separation is unbearable for even you. So that separation goes two ways. The devotee feels intense separation, and in turn Krishna feels separation from the devotee, as we see in the pastime between Krishna and Srimati Radharani, when Krishna leaves the rasa dance. Eventually he's worried about Srimati Radharani, and Srimati Radharani is just running after him. So, you know, in that kind of mood of missing Krishna, we develop our devotional life. And, you know, by all of our combined experiences of attachment to the temporary plane, we learn our lessons and, you know, develop in spiritual life through, you know, Srila Prabhupada told us that there's, you know, different levels of intelligence. The first level of intelligence hears and immediately accepts. And what is it? The second level of intelligence hears and doesn't accept, but by experience accepts and surrenders. And then the third level, the lowest level, is he hears and then experiences, you know, the nature of conditioning, and then doesn't surrender. So, you know, the whole thing is we try to adhere to the second stage, and gradually we'll come to the, you know, the higher stage, and the ability to hear and fully accept. You know, that's revealed and manifest directly in our, you know, in our day-to-day life by the process of devotion. It's like a fire that brings the impurities of the ghee to the surface, and they, you know, they naturally come to the surface. So we're in a hospital, and we shouldn't be surprised when we see that someone's sick. Okay, Jai. Shri Prabhupada Jivanamritam ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Okay. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Brinda ki Jai. Okay, reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 3, and we're on text 70. So Kaviraj Goswami is describing the different parts of the Lord, the angas, the angsas, and the upangas. The partial parts, the part of a limb, the angsa, and the limb, the anga. And so these are Garbhodakashai Vishnu, Kshirodakashai Vishnu, and Karanadakashai Vishnu. not exactly in that order. But anyway, Kaviraj Goswami will clarify this for us in the next few verses. So text 70. The manifestation of the Narayan who predominates in everyone's heart, as well as the Narayan who lives in the waters, Karna, Garbha, and Chira, is your plenary portion. You are therefore the original Narayan. Okay, original Narayan. In the Bengali, Mula Narayana. So the Mula means, here translated as the original, but it also means like the root, the beginning, the source. So this is, Krishna himself. You are the Antaryami. So we'll read the Bengali. Jalashai Antaryami Ye Narayana. Seho Tomara Angsa Tumi Mula Narayana. Okay. So the manifestation of Narayan, who predominates in everyone's heart, as well as Narayan who lives in the water, Jala Shayi, lying in the water, Antaryami, indwelling in everyone's heart, the super soul. This is Lord Narayan, and that same Narayan, you exhibit. You are showing as a plenary portion, Angsa, that same Narayan as the original Narayan. You're the Tumi Mula Narayan. You are the original Narayan. So Kaviraj Goswami is making it clear that the revelation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows that Krishna is the source of Narayan. And he's giving like a detailed understanding of how that works. So that, this will also sink into our hearts, because we're told by Srila Sridhar Maharaj that as we progress, while we're learning through our Guru to serve Krishna in a certain mood, we progress through the different layers of the material energy, and we see every layer. That's why he told us that that's the signal that we can enter into the understanding of the higher pastimes of Krishna, having seen, Bhur Bhuva all the way up to Sarga, and then beyond that, the Viraja river, and then the Brahma Jyoti, and then Vaikuntha. If we see all these things, then we enter Goloka, and then we have a necessity for service, so we read these higher books. Otherwise, they're not useful for us, because if they're giving some, like Goswami Maharaj says, voyeuristic experience or voyeuristic enjoyment, that's not what we're after. That's not the revelation of the ideal destination given by our Guru. That's not it's not the real thing, because it's calculated enjoyment. And it's an important point, though for us, it's a very natural, almost easy thing. Of course, surrender is never easy, but the understanding of it is so clear, given by Kaviraj Goswami and revealed by Srila Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. It's actually quite, Srila Sridhar Maharaj fine-tuning in our minds what Srila Prabhupada has given. Not as they may, criticize, like going beyond Srila Prabhupada. That's between Srila Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. It may be or maybe not. Srila Prabhupada accepted him as Shiksha Guru, no doubt. But the understanding of the revelation given by Srila Prabhupada in relation to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, that's for some kind of high perception, that the relative or the absolute difference between something like Sakya Rasa and Madhurya Rasa, and that's like way beyond us. So sometimes the beginners in both Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math and Prabhupada's society wrongly think that their particular line is better than the other line, and that's just You know, that's just illusion. It's of course, if there's you know, following that is in the line of their gurus and is correct, that's where it applies. Not if there's deviation from the line of the guru, which we, you know, often see, unfortunately. But Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat is, you know, preserved by the grace of Srila Govinda Maharaj. Okay, so text 71, translation. The word anga indeed refers to plenary portions. Such manifestations should never be considered products of material nature, for they are all transcendental, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. So Srila Prabhupada says, in the material world, if a fragment is taken from an original object, the original object is reduced by the removal of that fragment. So if you have like a whole circle and you take 25% or a quarter of the circle out, then you've only got 3/4 of the circle left. That's, you know, material estimation. But in transcendental estimation, you take something out of the absolute remains, and the expansion is there also in fullness. And Prabhupada refers to the Ishopanishad, which he had us learn, you know, wrote by heart. Om Purnamada Purnaminam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, phenomenal means temporary, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. So everything that comes from Him is complete. He's complete, and everything He expands into is complete. Even this temporary world. So we see that when they analyze even the parts of the temporary world, there's, you know, ecosystems and all these different things that are complete in themselves. It's all set up like that. And then, you know, the so-called scientific development of man, in so many cases, interrupts the natural cycle of things set up by the Lord, and we, you know, have a whole mess, which is the, you know, the product of modern civilization. The whole environment is like, has been polluted and is collapsing, literally. There's some kind of hole in Antarctica that's expanding, and eventually they say, unless it's stopped, will cause radiation to come through to the earth. There's a layer that stops radiation, and that's, you know, gradually dissipating. They think because of pollution. It could be other things. Okay. So whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance. So everything is coming from Him, but at the same time, He's complete in Himself, and He balances all the understandings of the emanations that come from Him. This is the invocation of Sri Ishopanishad. So Prabhupada says, in the Gita, Krishna says that all living entities are His parts and parcels. So parts means they're, you know, they're small. They're like made, like the Bible says, in His image. But, you know, something made in an image is not the same. You know, it's like the reflection in the pond we have from the Gita also. It looks the same, but it's not the same. It's just, so the material world gives us the illusion that we have, you know, we have similar bodies compared to the spiritual world, but it's not really true. The bodies dissipate, collapse, and, you know, that we have to see and understand, though it's a difficult pill to swallow. as they say, because naturally we want to be young. We want to experience our life based on a relationship with Krishna, who's also young. And so, it's a natural in the soul to want that. But in the material world, you don't get it. So the idea is by, everything that we experience in the material world indicates the spiritual world. So we just have to see it, digest it, and engage in devotional life, and through that engagement, gradually change our consciousness. So Prabhupada says, Vishnu Tattvas from Krishna and Lord Chaitanya are there from Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and so on, appear in different features in different ages, but they are all equally invested with supreme potency. So the Devatas, the demigods, such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, come in contact with the material energy, and their power and potency are therefore of different gradations. In other words, they're lesser. They're not full and complete like the expansions. Even though we understand from Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that only Krishna has, I forget, 56 qualities, and the expansions have less, and then the expansions of the expansions. Balaram is the first expansion, and then those expansions from there have less still. And so, but they're all considered Vishnu Tattva, which means they're the same, but they're not the same. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. So the demigods, they come in contact with material nature, so they have a lower degree of potency, even though Brahma is way high compared to us, and Lord Shiva even is way high compared to Brahma. Okay, so the influence of Maya cannot approach them. Prabhupada ends with that. Okay, so the Bengali, Anga Shabde Angsa Kohe, Seho Satya Hoya, Maya Karya Nahe, Sabha Chit Ananda Maya. Okay, Anga Shabde. By the word Anga, Angsha, plenary portion, Kahe. It is presented, it means. So Anga refers to plenary portions, and so Anga is a reference to Angsa, the plenary portion. So they're also Achintya Beda Beda, one but different as Krishna expands into his different potencies. Then Seho Satya Hoya, they're both that same truth, the Satya. Maya Karya Nahe. So these manifestations should Kahe Nahe never be considered as product of Maya, the material energy, Maya Karya. It's not the work of Maya, but rather Chit Ananda Maya. It's really full of knowledge. It's the energy that's full of knowledge and bliss. So Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj is giving us the clear information about the manifestations of Krishna and the production of the material world, leading up to his describing the different potencies of Krishna in relation to all these expansions. Rather, the different potencies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in relation to all these expansions. So now, text 72, he's going to begin this explanation. So Sri Advaita Prabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu are both plenary portions of Lord Chaitanya. Thus, they are the limbs, angas, of his body. The parts of these two limbs are called upangas. Okay. Advaita Nityananda Chaitanyera Dui Anga. Angera Avyaya Gana Kahiye Upanga. Advaita Nityananda, we know them. Chaitanya Dui Anga. of Chaitanya, Chaitanya, there are two parts, anga, or limbs. Angira avayaya gana. These limbs are avayaya gana, constituent parts, kaheye upanga. The parts of these two limbs are called upangas. So the two limbs are Nityananda and Advaita, and they have parts themselves which are called upangas. And perhaps he'll describe them later, we'll see. So, okay, I read the Bengali. Now 73. Thus the Lord is equipped with sharp weapons in the forms of his parts and plenary portions. All these weapons are competent enough to crush the faithless atheists. Okay, so I'll read the Bengali. Srila Prabhupada's purport talks about the use of the Bengali words. Angopanga tikshna astra prabhura sahite. Angopanga tikshna astra prabhura sahite. Se saba astra hoya pashanda dalite. Okay, so Pashanda, the atheist, one who compares the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the demigods is known as Pashanda. So they think that the Supreme Lord, who comes to this world in a manifestation visible to most of us, that also must be mundane. So they're Pashandas, they're atheists. Even though they may show like devotion and dedication to the demigods, they think it's only temporary. Similarly, they think the devotion and dedication to Krishna and Vishnu is only temporary, and ultimately those things will be left behind, and they'll become completely pure, no necessity for service, and merge into the Brahma Jyoti. So their whole idea is that I'm not a servant. I'm ultimately the Lord, and just temporarily I'm utilizing this position as a servitor to progress beyond that, to a higher realization that I'm the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada says, thus they fool the innocent public. So this is like the Ramakrishna mission, saying like that oh, Ramakrishna is so devoted and dedicated to Krishna. But, in fact, he's devoted and dedicated, but his idea is, as given by his disciple Vivekananda, is that you worship Krishna not for the ultimate position of devotion and dedication, but you temporarily do that until you're purified, and then you leave it behind. This Vivekananda is clearly told, he's very famous for his talk in Chicago in the 1890s, and in that way, Hinduism, so-called, came to America and to the West, and all the scholars took their interpretation of, Hinduism from that presentation given by Vivekananda. So generally, until Prabhupada came and the scholars began to note the presence of Vaishnavism in India, they all presented the interpretation of Vivekananda as the final vision of the Indian scriptures. And so everybody in the West was led to a misunderstanding, which, even today continues. Generally, people think like that. Even Indians have been conditioned to that notion that Krishna is ultimately, he may be the highest, but he's ultimately like the demigods, and you leave his worship behind and become God, become one with God. So it's like here Prabhupada tells us this word given by Kaviraj Goswami, Pashanda, indicates these types of people, and he translated it as atheists. So the people who are endeavoring for Brahman understanding, really they're atheists, because they deny the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even though they're withdrawing and becoming, so-called spiritual, they're atheistic because they refuse to accept the position as servant. So Krishna says in the Gita that these types of people are miscreants. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam. They're duskritas, they're nonsense. Vinashaya. They want to deny the personality of Godhead, and so in answer to that, the personality of Godhead sends his representatives to counter the propaganda. And so the propaganda of Ramakrishna has been strongly countered by Srila Prabhupada. And you find in India almost prevailing the understanding and acceptance that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a spiritual realm, and we are all eternally servants. They don't get it so clearly, and as we talk to different Indians, even who've been exposed to the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, they still kind of hold on to this notion that ultimately we kind of melt into the oneness. The power of the external acceptance of this understanding, leads people in the wrong direction. And of course, we know clearly from our gurus, they go in the wrong direction because they want to go that way. They don't want to accept. But the devotee of the Lord is merciful to them and tries to break that misconception. So this is the position of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, and our Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharyas. They're like, the whole thing is to bust up the misconception on different levels and in different degrees of direction. But Saraswati Thakur, who is the the loving source of the inspiration of our beloved gurus, he said it's totalitarian war against Maya. So that position is the position of a great Vaishnava who's descended to the middle level and sees that we're in a struggle. Otherwise, the Uttama sees Krishna everywhere. There's no need for any struggle, because Krishna is doing everything. So while we try to develop that kind of vision, simultaneously we understand and learn from the vision of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that we are engaged in a struggle. And the idea of Krishna everywhere in the environment, as given by Srila Sridhar Maharaj, is our ideal. So, achintya bheda bheda. We simultaneously deal with both notions, both things should be there. Okay, 75. 74, sorry. Sri Nityananda Gosai is directly Haladara. Lord Balaram and Advaita Acharya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Nityananda Gosai Sakshat Haladara. Advaita Acharya Gosai Sakshat Ishvara. So Nityananda Gosai, that Lord Nityananda Gosai, he is Sakshat, he's directly Haladara, Lord Balaram. Haladara, Dara, one who carries Hala, the plow. And Balaram uses the plow as his weapon in his pulling the Jamuna out of place. And in different ways he uses it to execute his transcendental will. So he's known as Aladara. And Advaita, Sakshat, is directly Sakshat, the Ishwara, the personality of Godhead. So that will be expanded upon and explained by Kaviraj Goswami in the following verses. So, the two captains with their soldiers, such as Srivas Thakur, travel everywhere chanting the holy names of the Lord. Srivas Adi Parishada Sainya Sangha Lana Dui Sena Poti Bule Kirtana Koriya. Okay. Srivas Adi, Srivas and others, Parishada, his associates, they're Sainya Sangha. They're soldiers who are along with Dui Senapati. Senapati. Sena, army, Pati. The leader. Literally known as husband. Or here translated as captains. So those with whom the army is deeply connected. So we can understand the indication here is that, even on the level of soldiering, when it's connected with devotion, the leaders have a heart connection with those who are following. It's not just, a regulative thing, but it's a deeper thing. And so in the army of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's a deep heart connection between the leaders and the followers. And what do? They travel everywhere. Bule, travel everywhere. Kirtana Koriya, chanting the holy name. These two captains are acharyas, teachers by example. Okay. So, text 76. Lord Nityananda's very features indicate that he is the subduer of the unbelievers. All sins and unbelievers flee from the loud shouts of Advaita Acharya. Pashanda Dalana Vana Nityananda Raya Acharya Hunkare Papa Pashandi Palaya. Acharya Hunkare Papa Pashandi Palaya. Okay. So Pashanda Dalana, like trampling the atheists, Pashandas. These, again, given by Srila Prabhupada, particularly these people who take the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be the same as the demigods. So, directly smashing that conception.
So the war cry.
Yeah, the war cry. Well, this is what will come out, yeah. Vana, having the feature, Nityananda. So Nityananda has the feature of Pashanda Dalana, trampling the atheists. Let's see. Acharya Hunkare Papa Pashandi Palaya. Right. Pashanda Palaya. It makes the atheists Palaya run away. The Pashandis, it's a plural for the Pashanda, makes them run away, and by hunkare, by the war cry. Prabhupada translated as war cry. Hunkare. So they're just the sound. Hum. And Advaita Acharya is making that shout. And by the, by the purity and the power and the demand contained within the shout, that those who are offensive towards the nature of that shout, the service to the Lord, they're driven away. So they don't come forward to challenge the the presentation of the acharyas because they're afraid. They're afraid of Advaita Acharya, and those people who are simple and sincere, they're able to come forward because these other guys have been driven away. Palaya, they run away themselves. Pashandi Palaya. Okay. Let's do one more and then we'll end for the day. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the initiator of Sankirtan, congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. One who worships him through Sankirtan is fortunate indeed. Sankirtana Pravartaka Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Sankirtana Yagye Tare Bhaje Se Danya. Se Danya. Okay. Sankirtana Pravartaka. All right. Okay. The initiator of Sankirtan, Pravartaka. It reminds me, Vartman Pravartika Guru. Now, someone who initiates the understanding of development of bhakti or spiritual life. That's the first person who teaches us about Krishna consciousness. Vartman Pradarshika. It's an important position. And here Mahaprabhu, he is the Sankirtana Pravartika. He's that person, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, is initiating the whole Sankirtan. And this Sankirtan, Yagya, it's a sacrifice. And the person, Tare, he who bhaje, who worships, he, say, that person, Danya, fortunate. So that person who worships through Sankirtan is very fortunate. So the Danya, the fortune, the good fortune, the happy receipt of transcendental blessings comes through Harinam Sankirtan, and those who participate in the Sankirtan, they have Danya. They're blessed. They're given fortune through the transcendental conveyance of the holy name by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his instruments, his angas, who with him are giving the experience of transcendental surrender. And then those angas, expand and present their potency through the agency of different gurus. And so we hear from Srila Sridhar Maharaj that Srila Prabhupada was the Shaktyavesh avatar of Nityananda Prabhu. Shaktyavesh means he's given the power, Shaktya, the Shaktya, Avesh, the form of the power of Nityananda Prabhu. Shaktyavesh avatar. So Vesh, he's taking the dress of Shakti, that power of Nityananda Prabhu, Shakti, Shaktya. Sanskrit change, the Shakti changes to a Y when it's a dual word. Shaktyavesh, avatar of Nityananda Prabhu. So one who worships him through Sankirtan, conveyed by these great, ultimately by the personality of Godhead himself, coming in the form of Nityananda Prabhu, who is Aladara, that person, has great fortune. So, Kaviraj Goswami is telling everyone that anybody who chants the holy names in Sankirtan is fortunate. So, we're fortunate. We have something, reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have something that's valuable and genuine, and we can give it to anyone. Because there's, by faith we understand that there's potency in whatever we present. Not because we have potency, but because our gurus have potency. And, to the degree to which we surrender, that potency comes through. And not only that, if the person is sincere and wants Krishna consciousness, our guru has the capacity to convey to them a realization, a revelation way beyond the capacity of the person who's, presenting it. And it works like that. The heart is the real factor. And so the heart of the Lord is not limited by the heart of the presenter. And the receiver can understand that he's dealing with the Lord himself. And his sincere attempt to surrender is directly reciprocated. And it works like that. We're just, you know, trying to be proper conveyors in spite of our limitations. Okay, so next one is 78. We'll do that tomorrow. And Kaviraj Goswami goes on to say that about Sumedha, someone who has that, has spiritual intelligence, whereas others have a poor fund of knowledge and are stuck in the cycle of birth and death. And the chanting of the holy name is most sublime. So I'll read that and discuss that tomorrow and go on about the potency of the holy name in relation to the sacrifices of the previous age. And Jiva Goswami's explanation in his beginning introduction of Bhagavat Sandarbha. We get to hear that from Kaviraj Goswami. So, you know, to understand the teachings of the great souls, first we understand Chaitanya Charitamrita and know that what is given by Kaviraj Goswami in relation to the great souls like Jiva and Rupa and Sanatan and others is, you know, sufficient for our development in Krishna consciousness. For our preaching under the authority of higher Vaishnavas and our Guru, we can, if we have necessity for service, we can study those things, but only when the, you know, the opening to understanding that in a deep way is given by, you know, from above. Otherwise, you know, to accumulate intellectual knowledge is, you know, it's vacant. It may be useful in our preaching, I can say that, but at the same time, if we want to preach and convey the heart substance, we have to, you know, receive those things that are given by our Guru. Otherwise, there isn't heart substance. You know, it's an intellectually convincing thing, and we know from the pastimes of Mahaprabhu that, you know, intellectually convincing things can be defeated, and it goes back and forth forever. So we're not like intellectual philosophers, though we do have a philosophy, and we can speak on the intellectual level, but our potency is that we have the heart substance, you know, to some degree or other behind us based on our, you know, acceptance of our Guru. So that's the kind mercy of our Gurus. So Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Srila Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Mat Acharya Brinda ki jai. So I forgot, Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya